This conference will now be recorded.
Hello and welcome again. So in this video we are going to discuss about the control statements that are available in Java. So basically there are two control statements, if and switch, that are used to control the flow of the Java program. So in case of if statement, there are many variations of it in Java. So the first one is simple if statement. So in this case, we use first the keyword if, then a condition within the parenthesis, and after that, within braces, a statement or statements. If you want only one statement, next one statement in the if statement, then these braces are not required. If more than one statements, you want to keep those in the body of the if statement. So this is the body, this curly brackets, beginning and ending. So this is the body of the if. So if there are more than two or more than two statements, then there should be the parenthesis. And as we discussed earlier, if you write any condition, the condition evaluates to either true or false. So if worked on the Boolean outcome of this condition, if this condition evaluates to true, then only the statements that are within the braces of this if body are evaluated. If this condition evaluates to false, then simply these statements that you have written within the parentheses are skipped. So this is the purpose of if. So these statements or a group of statements are executed or will not be executed. It depends upon the outcome of the condition that you have written in the parenthesis of the if statement. Then next is if else statement. So here we are using else keyword. So this, after the else part, is called the false part, because these statements or statement is executed if this condition evaluates to false, and if the condition evaluates to true, then in that case statement 1 is executed. Again, the rule is same. If there is only one statement between if and else, or in the true part of the else if statement, then braces are not required. Similarly, if there is only one statement in the else part of the if statement, braces are not required. So these braces are required if there is more than one statement in the true part or in the else part of the if statement. So I have written over here another example to find out largest of two numbers. So I'm not going to discuss this try catch, because this comes under the exception handling part. It will work, the program will work without this try catch block. So you remove these two lines and these four lines and try it on your system. It will work, and I will show you on the Eclipse as well. So very first statement, I'm going to discuss just this part of the program. So here this part will read two numbers from the keyboard, one in number into the variable a, other number into the variable b. So we discussed in the previous video that if you want to use the keyboard input from the keyboard, if you want to read input from the keyboard, then in that case you can use the object of the scanner class. So here we are using the object of the scanner class to read the first input integer, and to read the second integer we are using it second time. So please note, if you want to read the float number, you can write over here next float. In that case f should be capital, and if you want to read the double number, you can write next double. All these are the methods of the scanner class. So if a is greater than b, if you have inputted, let's suppose 20 as a value of a and 10 as a value of b, then 20 greater than 10 will evaluate to true and it will print a. If the value of a is less than b, then this condition will evaluate to false, then it will print the value of b. So please note over here, because there is one statement between if and else, so I haven't used braces over here. Similarly, there is one statement after the else, so again the braces after the else are not used. So the next if is a nested if structure. So if we use if statement within the true part of another if, or within the false part or else part of the another if statement, then that structure is called a nested if structure. So here I have shown you a nested if structure. So this is an outer if statement. In the outer if statement, I have a nested one if statement over here. So this if statement is a part of the outer if statement. So this is a nested if structure. So this is one if statement I am using. This is another if else statement I am using. So the uh, main aim of this nested if statement is to keep an if statement within another if statement. So I have one program to show you the detail of this, how it will work. So in this is a code snippet. This is not the complete program. So you have to read the values of A, B, and C through the keyboard. And in this code snippet, we are finding the largest of three numbers. So in this code, we have used nested if structure. One if structure is there in the true part of the outer if. Another if structure is there in the false part of or else part of the outer if. So we are testing if A is greater than B. Let's suppose the value of A is 30 and B is 20 and C is 10. So 30 greater than 20 is true, so it will run the true part of the outer if statement. This part will be skipped because this outer condition is true, so this will be skipped. It will evaluate this part. So A is 30 as we assumed earlier. C is 10, so 30 greater than 10 is also true, so this will be skipped. This will be executed, so you will get the result 30 over here. So if this condition is false, then it will go to the else part and will test B greater than C. So this program will give you the largest of three numbers, and those three numbers must be unique. They should not be have the same value. Here is the complete program. Just I have written the complete logic of this. Again, you can skip the try catch block over here. So this is not required. Then is the if else if ladder. So the structure of is if else if ladder, or syntax of if else if ladder is like this. If there is if, then it evaluates the condition. If this condition is true, then this statement will be executed. Rest of the else statements will be skipped. And if this condition evaluates to false, it will go to the else part. And in the else part, there is another if statement. So this if will be evaluated then. If this condition evaluates to true, it will run this statement and will skip the rest of the else statements. And if this condition is evaluates to false, then it will go to the else part and will test the third if statement. If all the conditions evaluate to false, those are written with the else part, then the last statement that is written in the else part of this if else if ladder will be executed. So if this statement will be executed if all the condition evaluates to false. So here is the example of on if else if ladder. So we are basically displaying the season. We have considered that there are four seasons: winter, spring, summer, and autumn. So the value of month is 4, and the string variable is their season. So with the first if we assume that the month value is 4 over here, so the first condition will evaluate to false. This one, month is equal to 12, it's false. And because we have connected these three conditions with the short circuited or, so first condition is false, so it will go to the second condition. Second is also false, and the third one is also false. All the conditions are false, so the compound condition will be false. So that means this part of the if structure will be skipped. Then it will go to the else part of this. In the else, there is another if statement. So this will be evaluated. So this condition will be evaluated first. Month 4 is equal to 3. This will evaluate to false. Then it will go to the next condition. Month is equal to 4. This is true. So if the condition is true, then rest of the conditions are not evaluated in case of short-circuited OR operation. So this is a short-circuited OR operation. So this, because one of the condition is true, the rest of the conditions will not be evaluated. So keep in mind the conditions are evaluated from left to right. So this condition is true, it means it will assign spring to the season variable, and rest of the if else letter structure will be skipped. So these all statements will be skipped till here, and after that it will run this statement and you will get April is in the spring season, right? April is in the spring. So this is the message that you will get. And if you suppose assign value 13 to this one, so all these three conditions will evaluate to false, then it will go to the else, and in the else we have another if. All these three conditions will be false for the month value 13. So if this is false, it will go to the next else part. These three conditions will evaluate to false again, and it will go to the else part. So these will also evaluate to false. At the end, it will go to the else part of this, and it will assign the bogus month to the season. So you will get the result over here, bogus month. So this is all about the if else letter. Then is the switch statement. So it's a multiple branch statement. So instead of using the if else if ladder, you can use a switch statement. The syntax of switch is this: you will use switch first, then there should be an expression. So in case of if the expression should be always Boolean expression, as we discussed earlier. But in case of switch, the expression can be of type byte, short, int, character, string, or enumeration. Enumeration we will discuss in the coming lectures. So if this expression can be one of these five, six types. If the expression value is 1, then the case 1, the statements that you have written under the case 1 will be executed, and when this break will be executed, the control will come out of the switch statement. So at the end of every case statement, the last statement, in other words, we can say the last statement of every case is a break. So you see here, this is case 1, and there are some statements that you can write. The last statement will be break. And in case of case 2, again there are some statements and last statement is break, and so on. And number of cases can be there, and there is a one default case. And if the value of the expression is doesn't match one of these cases, one of these AND cases, then the default case will be executed. So this is how the switch statement works. There is a program based on the switch statement. In this program, I'm just going to discuss the switch part of this problem. In the switch, we have used one variable I is of type integer. So if the value of I is 0, then it will run the case 0. The statements under case 0 is, it will print this I is 0, and when this break statement will be executed, control will come out of this switch statement, right? And the program will end. If the value of the variable I is 3, then it will directly go to the case number 3, and the statements under case 3 are I is 3. So you will get this output, and then with the break, the control will come out of the switch statement. If the value of I is, let's say, 6, then in that case 6 cases not there, only 4 cases are there: case 0, case 1, case 2, and case 3. So none of the cases value matches with the value of I, so the default case will be executed and you will get I is greater than 3. So in that case, default case will run as we discussed earlier. If the value of the expression doesn't match with any of the case values, in that case, statements kept under the default case are executed. So please note that we haven't written break in the last part, that is part of the block default statement, because after executing the last statement it will automatically come out of the switch statement. So if you are not using here the next problem on the switch, you can merge the multiple cases in case of switch. So in this case we have merged 4 cases: 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and for all these 5 cases there are certain statements that we want to run. So we want to run just this statement for all these 4 values of I. So whenever the value of I will be 0 to 4, so you will get I is less than 5. So through this program we are learning that the cases can be joined if you want to run the same set of statement for multiple values or for multiple case values. Similarly, if the value of I is from 5 to 9, so in that case this statement will be executed and break will transfer the control to the statement following the switch statement. And if the value of I is not from 0 to 9, then in that case default case will be executed. So there is another program. In this program we are using a string as the expression of switch statement. So as we discussed earlier, we can use integers, all the 4 integer types: byte, short, integer, and long, as the switch expression, or we can use character variable, or we can use a string expression. Floats are basically not allowed in case of switch. So here we are using string. The value of string is 2. This is the string variable because this value matches with this case. So keep in mind here, now the case values are of string type. We have included the word in the double quote, so this is a string. So the str value matches with 2, so this statement will be executed and you will get 2 on the screen, and this break will transfer the control to the statement following the switch statement. And if the str value is, let's say 4, you have written over here 4, so string str value not match with any of these 3 case values because cases are 1, 2, and 3, so it will run the default case and you will get this result on the screen: no match. So this is all about the if and switch statement.
This conference will now be recorded.
So this is the problem, and we want to know why we are getting this result 5.029999 instead of 5.03, because our value is 5.02 and 0.01. Actually, what is happening here is when you assign a value to any floating point variable, then that value actually cannot be exactly converted into a binary number. So you know that whenever you assign some value to a variable, whether it is a floating variable or it is a double variable, so that value sometimes cannot be represented correctly in the binary format. Let's discuss this problem that you have shown over here, whether this point 02 can be represented in binary format or not. So the process of conversion, I'm going to just repeat it for your help. So if you want to convert any uh, fractional value into its equivalent uh, binary value, we multiply it with 2. So this will give you 0.04. So I will write integer part on one side. This is the process of conversion. So integer part is 0, so I will write it this side. So this is 0, right? Then I will multiply the fractional part, that is 0.04. So this will give me 0.04 into 2. So this will give you 2.0.08. So I will note down over here the fraction integer part. Again, it is 0. So like this, if you multiply 0.8 with 2, what you will get? You will get 0.16, and we'll note down the integer part over here. It's again 0. Similarly, if you multiply 0.16 with 2, then I'm just going to write over here the next values. Next value will be 32. Next is 0.64, sorry, 0.64, then 1.28, right? So on this side, I will keep on writing the integer part. Integer part of this is 0. Integer part of this is 0 again. Integer part of this is 1. And then you will write fractional point 0.28 into 2, you will get 0.56. Integer part is again 0, right? And then you will get 1.12. Integer part is 1. 1.2 into 0.24, you will get integer part 0. And this will keep on going. In some cases this will keep on going. And the binary equivalent of this is up to, if I leave it here, then the binary equivalent of 0.02 will be 0. We are going to write it from top to down. So how many zeros are there? 5 zeros, then 1 0 1 0, 1 1 3 4 5 0 1 0 1 0, right? So this is the binary format of 0.02. Exactly, this is not 0.2. So sometimes the fractional value cannot be correctly converted into its binary equivalent, right? So in that case, you get some value different than that. So that is the reason behind this, because when the system will convert this 5.02 or 0.01 to its equivalent binary number, so while converting it, the double will have some limited space to store the bits, right? For a floating point representation, whether it is float or it is double, some bits values are reserved to store the fractional values. If your binary equivalent doesn't fit in that space that is reserved for the floating values, fractional values, in that case it stores the number that is nearly equivalent to that, right? So the reason behind this of not getting the exact result is the reason is the computer is unable to convert this fractional value into its binary value exactly, right? You are getting that's why you are getting the equivalent result. Any
This conference will now be recorded.
So under this iteration statements, we have 3 loops available in Java to repeat a set of statements. In fact, 4 are there right now, because one kind of for each loop is added in the latest version of the Java. So the 3 out of those 4 are for loop, while loop, and do while loop. These 3 loops are basically used to repeat some set of what will be the condition of repetition that we will discuss. First statement that we are going to discuss is a while loop. So basically this loop has this syntax. First you will write the keyword while, then within the parenthesis you need to write a conditional expression, that expression that will evaluate to either true or false, and then some statements that you will keep within the braces. Again, the same rule applies. If there is only one statement that you want to repeat, then there is no need of braces. Even if you don't want to repeat any statement, then you can put the semicolon at the end of while also. So that we'll discuss in the coming slides as well. So if this condition is false, the body of the while loop will be repeated, or in other words we can say the while loop will keep on repeating whatever you will write within the parenthesis till this condition is true. So as soon as the condition evaluates to false, controls come out of uh, this while loop and will be transferred to the statement after the while loop. So here is the program based on the while loop, and through this program we are printing a number from 10 to 1. So initially we have used one variable over here, and its value is initialized to 10 in this statement. So after this the system will evaluate this while statement while n greater than 0 is true, because n is 10, so 10 greater than 0 is true. So if this condition is true, it will run this statement and you will get system.out.println. So this will give you the result 10. And after this we are using the post decrement operator. This will change the value of n to 9, because as we discussed earlier, the decrement operator decreases the value of the variable by 1 if it is used independently with the variable, right? If it's not in the expression. So this will change the value of n to 9. Then the control will go to the conditional expression again. So this time again this condition will be evaluated. 9 is greater than 0, so condition is true. So same state body of the while loop will be executed again. So you will get 9 in the next line. Then this statement will change the value of 8 n to 8, and the control will be transferred back to the while loop again. This time it will evaluate 8 greater than 0 true, so this will print 8, and so on. So it will print from 10 to 1. So when the value of 1 will and 1 will be printed, after that this will change the value of n to 0. So in the last iteration, this 0 greater than 0 will evaluate to false and control will come out. So from this program, we conclude that the while loop executes the statements that we write within the parenthesis as long as the condition is true. So as the condition evaluates to false, control come out of the while loop, and the statement that is after the while loop. So in this case, we haven't written any statement after while. So if there is any statement, that statement will be executed. So this program will print 10 to 1. This is the output. So here is another program. In this program, we are not repeating any statement with while loop. So we have put a semicolon over here. So this will end the while loop over here, this semicolon. This means we don't want to repeat anything. There is no body of this while loop. Or we can say there is a null statement that we want to repeat. So we have used two variables in this program. I is initialized to 100 and j is initialized to 200. So this loop, loop will keep on repeating. What it will repeat? See, I is initially 100. So this, because this is a pre-increment operator. So before evaluating this condition, it will perform the increment and decrement operation before that. So it will evaluate this I, increment this I to 111 and 101, sorry, and this will increment the value, decrement the value of j. So the value of j will change from 200 to 119. So 101 less than 119 is true. So this will repeat nothing. So control will again evaluate this condition. So in the next iteration, the value of I will become 202 and this will change to 198, and it will repeat nothing for this because condition is true. So this condition will keep on evaluating, and at one step this value of I will change and become greater than the value of j. So when this I will become greater than the value of j, control will come out of this loop. So one variable is decreasing and other is increasing, right? So when this condition will evaluate to false, so it will come out. So naturally one is increasing, so approximately at 150, when the value of I will be 150, this will be 149 and this condition will evaluate to false and control will come out. So you can verify the values of I and j after executing this program. So here is before going to the next loop, I would like to code some more problems in the clips as well. So in this program, we are going to find GCD of two number, GCD. So I'm going to write it GCD here. So we want to find GCD of two numbers. So how we can find the GCD, we are going to discuss that process first. If you want to find out GCD of 10 and 44, so you will divide 44 by 10 first. So you will divide 44 by 10. Then this is 44, this is 10. And let's say this is the value of, in the first column there is a value of n, and in the second column we have value of d, right? So because this is the remainder over here, that I would like to write this stuff. This is our remainder. Remainder is 4, because when you will divide 44 by 10 you will get 4 as a remainder. So in the next step we will make this d n, right, and the value of r d. So this is d for the second step. In the first step, value of n is 44, value of d is 10, and remainder is 4. If remainder is not 0, then in that case we will assign the value of d to n, so the value of n will change to 10, and value of r to d, so the value of d will change to 4. Again we will find the remainder. So 10 remainder 4 is 2 this time. So because remainder is not 0, so we'll follow the same step again. We will assign d to n, so the value of n will change to 4, and the value of d will change to 2, right? So this step, 4 remainder 2 is 0. So when the remainder will become 0, we will stop this process. So in this problem, what we want to do, we want to repeat some instructions as long as the remainder is not 0. So in this program, what we need is, we need some variable, let's say nd and r. These are the three variables, and we want to read the value of n and d through the keyboard. So we need to define a scanner class object, and to use the scanner class we have to import first the scanner class using this import statement. So java.util.scanner, and after that we will create one object of scanner class. So this is how you can create the object: new scanner and to this you will pass the standard input stream, that is system.intuit. This is there. So through this you will read the two variables. So n is equal to in dot next int. This is there. D is equal to in dot next int. So you will use this, and what we want to do is we want to repeat some statements, and the repetition will keep on running while this remainder is not equal to 0. So this is the case, and the remainder D is not equal to 0. So because the precedence of the arithmetic operator remainder is more than the relational operator, so this expression will evaluated first, and the result of this expression will be compared with 0. So if n remainder D is not equal to 0, what we want to do, as discussed over here, if remainder is not 0, we will assign value of D to n and R to D. So n is equal to D and D is equal to R. This is what we want to do. And when the control will come out of this loop, when the remainder will be 0 and the remainder D will be equal to 0. When n remainder D is 0, at that step, the value of D will be the GCD. So I will print over here after that system.out.println. What I want to print is value of D, that is the GCD. So GCD of 10 and 44 is 2. So you will get 2 as the result. So this is sorry, it should be D. So let's run this program. Click over here. There is some issue. Exception in the main thread. This error unresolved compilation problem. GCD and GCD main Java 4. Line number 4. Public static void main. What is the issue? Okay, some code is there at the end. That's why it was not compiling. That was the issue. I forgot that I have kept some code at the end of this as well. System scanner. Okay. May not be initialized. Okay. Leave this out. So there was some issue. I have resolved it. Now T risk R cannot be resolved to a variable. In the thread main unresolved compilation problem, R cannot be resolved to a variable at line number 17. Okay. I have not evaluated R over here. So R is first need to be evaluated. So I forgot to evaluate it, and R should be here as well. So that was the issue. Now let's check it. A is 10, B is 44, and we are getting the result 2. Let's run it again with these two values, 44 and 10. Again we are getting 2. If you try with some other value, what result you should get? This is 4. So this is working fine due to some problem, because there was code at the end. I forgot to delete that. So I will show you without using this try also, because try we haven't discussed yet. So I am going to remove this code from this program. So this is what we used earlier. Now let's check it. See, it's working perfectly fine. So what is the purpose of try catch? I will explain that to you in the coming classes as well. So this is the code. I think there shouldn't be any doubt about it. If there is any doubt, you can leave your doubt in the chat box, and I will sort that out. So this is the one problem. So let's go to the next slide of this session. So this next is the do while loop. So here's the syntax of do while loop. First you will write the do keyword, then within the parentheses, as we discussed earlier, you will write the statements that you want to repeat, and at the end there will be while, and within the parentheses after while you will write some condition. So the difference from the while is that because here in case of do while, the condition is evaluated at the end. So in case of do while, the body of the loop will be executed at least once, right? So wherever you want to execute some statements at least once, you should use do while loop, right? And in those cases where you want to repeat the statements based on the outcome of the condition, then you should use the while loop. So again, the important point is this condition, as we have already discussed, this should be a Boolean expression. It should evaluate to true or false. So here's the same problem, printing of 10 to 1 are here. So what will happen, see, first it's 10, so the control will enter in the body of the do while loop. So it will print the value of n, that is 10. So I'm going to repeat some of this code, some iterations I'm going to discuss with you. Then the value of n will change to 9. So after that, this condition will be evaluated. 9 is greater than 0. So control will go to the beginning of the loop. So again, it will run the system.out.println. So you will get the present value 9 on the screen. After that, the value of n will change to 8. So 8 greater than or equal to 0 true. So it will go to the beginning part again. So this will keep on running. When the value of n will become 1, so 1 will be printed. After that, the value of n will change to 0. 0 greater than 0 will evaluate to false, and control will come out of this do while loop. It will be transferred to the next statement if there is any. So please note, there should be semicolon at the end of the while, right? There is another loop, that is for loop. So in this loop, again we have three expressions of within the parenthesis after the for keyword. In the parenthesis, the first expression is initialization expression. So initialization expression is like I is equal to 10 or I is equal to 0. So we will have some variable with some value, that is called initialization. So it can be c is equal to a plus b. So we are initializing some variable over here. So then comes the conditional expression. This, as we discussed earlier, it's a Boolean expression that will give you either true or false. And if the condition is true, then only the body of the for loop will be executed. And if the condition is false, control will come out of the for loop. So then there is a iteration. So in what sequence these will be executed? First, when the for loop is encountered in a program, the Java will evaluate the initialization expression first, then it will go to the conditional expression. If condition is true, the body of the for loop, the statements that you will write within the braces will be executed. And after executing all the statements, control will go back to the third expression, that is increment decrement expression or iteration expression. So here we will keep statements like I plus plus or j plus plus or some other statements that we will discuss in the coming classes as well. After that, after this, the control will go to the conditional part again. It will test the condition. If the condition is true, the body of the for loop will be executed again. And again, the control will go to the third expression. So this body of the for loop will keep on executing until this condition becomes false. So as soon as this condition evaluates to false, control will come out of the for loop. So again, these braces, as we discussed with the while loop, these are not mandatory. If there is only one statement, you can leave these braces, and if there is more than one statement, you have to use the braces for the repetition of the statements. So here is the same program again to print numbers from 10 to 1. And with this, what we are doing, there is a one change. We have declared the variable within the for loop itself. So this is quite possible. You can do this, do it. So generally, we declare the variable in the beginning of the main method, right? But that is not mandatory. You can declare a variable anywhere. So that we will discuss in the coming lectures as well. So this will initialize n to 10. So then the control will go here, 10 greater than 0 is true. So it will repeat the body. So this time only one statement is there in the body. So we haven't used braces after the for. So it will run this statement. So you will get tick 10. After that, the control will go back to the increment expression. So this will decrease the value of n by 1. So the value of n will change to 9. So after that, the control will go to the conditional part. So 9 and value of n is 9. 9 greater than 0 is true. So condition will evaluate to true. Then body will be executed again. So this will run again. So you will get tick 9. And after that, the control will go here. The value of n will change to 8. 8 greater than 0 is true. So you will get tick 8, then tick 7, and so on. In the last iteration, you will get tick 1. And after that, the value of n will become 0. So 0 greater than 0 is false. The control will come out of the loop. So the important point that needs discussion in this program is if you declare a variable in the body of the for loop over here, then the scope of that variable will end as soon as the loop finishes its execution. So when the control will come out of the loop, this variable n will cease to exist, right? Because you have defined it in the body, so this will keep on existing as long as the body is executing. So as the body will terminate, the control will come out of the loop, and your program will comes to an end. So here in the next program, we are discussing some variations of the for loop. Here in the initialization part, you can use more than one expressions, but if you want to use more than one expression, you have to separate those expressions with commas. So here are two expressions. One is a is equal to 1, other is b is equal to 4. So there are two initializations. If you want to use more than one initialization expression, you have to separate those expressions with comma. So keep in mind there should be always two semicolon within the parenthesis that will follow the for keyword. So one is here, other is here. So one is after the initialization, all the initialization expressions, if there is more than one. And similarly, you can write more than increment, decrement expressions, and the expression in the expression 3 part, and all the increment, decrement expressions must also be separated by the commas. So what will happen in this case? So first, when this loop will be encountered, when the Java will execute this loop, the first it will initialize a to 1, then it will jump to the next expression, then it will initialize b to 4. After that, the condition will be evaluated because value of a is 1 and that of b is 4, so this condition will evaluate to true. So if this condition is true, then body of the for loop will be executed, so you will get a is equal to 1, b is equal to 4, and this right base indicates end of the for loop. So control will jump back to the increment decrement part of the loop, so it will evaluate all the expressions that are there from left to right. So the value of a will change to 2 from 1 to 2, and the value of b will change from 4 to 3. So after that, the condition will be tested again. So because the value of a is 2 now and that of b is 3, so 2 less than 3 is true. So this body of the for loop will be executed again, and you will get a is 2, b is 3. Then it will go to the increment decrement part again, and this will change the value of a to 3 and that of b to 2. And after that, it will jump to this conditional part, and this time this condition will evaluate to false because the value of a is 3 and that of b is 2. So 3 less than 2 will evaluate to false, and the body of so this loop will terminate and the control will come out of this loop. So the crux of this slide is you can use multiple initialized expressions, and you have to separate all those expressions with semicolon, comma. And similarly, in the increment decrement part, you can use the multiple expressions, and all those expressions must also be separated by commas. So, and this is another variation of for loop. So in this loop, we haven't used any expression. Instead, basically, all these expressions can be skipped. You can skip the first expression or the third expression. Even all the expressions can be skipped. I will show you one or two problems on the Eclipse as well based on that. So in this slide, there is a variation of the for loop that is called infinite loop. So in this part, we haven't used any expression. So if there is no conditional expression, then by default the Java assume that condition to be true. So it will keep on running the body, whatever will be there, it will keep on running that endlessly. So we will use this variation of for loop in some of the problems in the coming video lectures. So we'll discuss that in detail as well. Here's the another program based on for loop. This we discussed, I think, earlier. So let me show you some more problems. First on the Eclipse, then I will show you some more slides. So here what I want to do is first, if I show you the variations of the for loop, let's discuss that. I'm going to create a new file, so new class, and this is the for based on for loop, the program one, and I want to include this void main as well in the program. So here with the for loop, what I'm going to do is we are going to discuss the variation, that is infinite loop, that we just discussed. I'm going to use one variable I over here and initializing this I to 1, right? And next I'm using one more variable, and the variable is, let's say, n, and its value is 5, suppose, right? So in the for loop we have three expressions. The first expression is missing. Second expression I am using over here, I is less than or equal to 10. And the next part, next I have one expression I plus plus or plus plus I, both will give you the same result in this case. So this is the case. So there is no initialization expression. So when this for will be executed, control will come directly to the conditional part, and if this condition is true, then body of the loop will be executed. So what I want to do over here, I want to print, let's say, a table of n. This is my first case. So I just want to print the value of n into y, let's say, n into y. So in the first iteration, the value of y will be 1. So this will give you the result 5. In the second iteration, the value of I will be 2. So 2 less than or equal to 10 will be true. So it will give you 10. So like way, you will get 5, 10, 15, 20, and so on. The last result will be 50. So let's check it. Then I will make some changes in this code. See here, this is the output, 5 to 50 of this program. So you can skip this as well. So I can write it as the last statement of this loop. This will also work. So you can leave the first expression, that is initialization expression. You can leave the third expression, increment decrement expression, but these expressions will be there somewhere. So because in case of for loop, I have initialized I over here before the main, and in case of increment decrement, I have doing that as the last statement of the for loop. So increment decrement should be there, otherwise this loop will not terminate. But it can be anywhere within the loop or as the last statement of the for loop. So if I run it again, so I'm going to change it to 5 to print the less number of iterations. So it will give you now 5 to 25 because I have changed here I less than or equal to 5. So if I make it infinite, if I don't put anything over here, so it will keep on printing 5, then 10, 15, 20, and so on. Let's try it. See here, it's keep on printing the value because we haven't mentioned any expression, any condition when the program should terminate. So this will keep on running. So how you can stop this program, right? So this is the case. So the first is, so see here, this will keep on running, and so on. So I think you got the point. If you don't put any condition over here, then this loop will keep on running, right? And let's now go to the next slide, how you can do that. So if you want to stop this infinite loop, there is one icon over here that is terminate. So you can click it to stop your program. So now it has stopped. So this is how, if you want to break somewhere in between, you can use the if statement over here also. I would like to show you that also. If the value of I becomes greater than 10, this loop should terminate. So I can keep over here, if I is greater than 10, in that case run a statement break. So if you write break within the for loop, that terminates the loop. So if when the I becomes greater than 10, so this condition will evaluate to true, the system will execute break, and break will transfer the control to the statement following for loop. So this will terminate the loop. So this is another way of writing this code. So again, this will print 1 to 50. See, 5, 10, 20, 20, 15, and so on. So this is how you can use the infinite for loop if you leave all the expressions blank. And for that, if you want to stop the program, you have to use a break statement in the body of the for loop under certain condition. This is another program that I'm not going to discuss with you, right? So any uh, any